comment, like, and subscribe. It's rare I have all the cars uncovered, just cause I try to keep the dust down. Hey, what's this over here? Hey, good morning, YouTube. How about a Foxbody with a built motor, Vortex supercharged, got the 18-inch Saleen wheels on it, Corbo seats, got the disc brake conversion in the back, and if you can see the paint, it's got like a blue pearl metallic or something in it over the factory color. Really pretty car. So first thing I'm gonna do before I do anything is I'm gonna get my smoke tester out. I'm gonna smoke test it, see if there's any vacuum leaks anywhere in the car, whether it's from the intake manifold, the rubber lines or anything like that. And I asked him, is anything else going on? He said, yeah, the brakes don't work that well. It's like the booster is really hard when you push it. And I said, well, that sounds like not enough vacuum. Secondly, he says it doesn't feel like the fuel pressure. Looking at the gauge, the fuel pressure seems to drop and fluctuate kind of low. So I'm thinking it could be his pump in the tank, it could be the filter, and it could even be the lines. And what I told him was, even though he's got the upgraded braided lines here from the factory feed, these lines are notorious for breaking down on the inside with the rubber. The rubber breaks down and it starts putting debris literally in your fuel system. If you're lucky, it leaks on the outside and you see there's a leak and you change the lines. If you remember the 93 Cobra I restored a couple years ago, that's what happened. You turn on the fuel pump, those lines would leak fuel all over the car. Fix that, put new lines on it. This car, I told him I have an idea. It's probably got, the lines are broken down, there's trash in the lines, the trash has gotten into the injectors, and that's probably why it doesn't feel like it's got the same power, the fuel pressure fluctuates, that can cause a lot of issues. So I'm going to diagnose that. He said if we got to work on the fuel system, he wants to go ahead and upgrade it. He brought me some pieces here, just some miscellaneous stuff that he had. But of interest in here is he's got a brand new Aeromotive regulator. He's got the pre and post filters, which you run with it. And somewhere, I think right here, oh yeah, he's got the pickup that goes in the tank, which is, this is race car stuff. You don't see this anymore. It's really cool. And in here, I believe, right here maybe, is his Aeromotive fuel pump. That thing's a monster. It's the A1000. I've run these before. They work really well. And the problem is you have to mount it externally. So if I decide to put this on, put that on, the two filters, use this pickup out of the tank to feed it, and then I have to come up with my own lines and all for it. And I already told him these braided lines, he had these just extra, not using them, but regular braided lines suck. You can smell gas fumes in your garage, which we don't want. And they're not really compatible with different fuels. They will work for a while, but I told him the best way to do it today, and like I've done all my cars, is run PTFE line, which has that inner liner. And it's really good if you want to run E85 or race gas or anything that long term. It won't degrade your lines. It lasts a lot longer. So, gonna try to diagnose that today. If it's something simple like putting a fuel filter on it, pulling the injectors out and cleaning them, and maybe changing these lines up here up front, and I can fix it for cheap, great, but that'll get it driving. But on the dyno, 10, 12 years ago when he had a dyno, it was run out of fuel. At 4,600, they had to shut it down because it literally was run out of fuel because that stock fuel system can't keep up with the demand. So we'll see. I'm gonna jump into it now. Just want to tell you where we are. Foxbody in the house. Kind of cool to see two Foxbodies in here, and one hatchback and one convertible. And again, it's fixed up. It's a nice looking car. So hang tight. Let's see what we can find out on this car. All right, so we got our smoke machine. We got it plugged in here to the line that goes to the regulator, and we're pumping smoke into it. It takes it a couple minutes to build up. And what we're gonna look for is any place you see smoke coming out. And typically it's pretty easy to find if you have a vacuum leak. First thing I'm seeing over here I don't like. See how this vacuum comes down for its boost gauge? Check out that cap. See that cap? Look at that. That thing is barely hanging on and it's all deteriorated. Look at that. So definitely gonna fix that. That's no bueno. And we'll let our smoke machine run. What we're looking for is smoke coming out, whether it's by the intake manifold gaskets, any of this vacuum set up in here. And if nothing's evident, that's good. My biggest thing was checking this valve. Here's the vacuum line here. It runs up and under to this valve and it comes up to here. So we'll see. Give it a few minutes and I'll let you know what I find. All right, so the first thing, if you look in here, you will see some smoke coming out the filter. That's normal because they're smoking the whole system and that's like an opening for it there. But I want you to look here, if you can pick it up in the camera. Can you see the smoke coming by the boot? This is a power pipe and it fits really tight in here. And I see some smoke coming around where that clamp is, right in here. See that? Can you see the smoke? It's coming up from the bottom. So apparently this boot is either not super tight or it might have a hole in it. And you can see it's pushed really hard against the fuel rails here and it may have a hole. So what I have to do now is I'm gonna have to unhook this, which is a pain in the ass. You gotta unhook this boot and see if I can find a hole or something or see if that's tight. And that'll be my first check. And to be honest with you, everything else looks pretty good. I mean, I'm not seeing any smoke from anywhere else. So that's good. That's good. All right, I'll keep troubleshooting it, see what else we can find. One vacuum here. Try to pop it loose like that. Okay, there we go. Have you ever wondered how to test your bypass valve, see if it works? I'm going to show you real quick. You just get you a suction gun like this, like you take oil out of something. Can you see that in there? There you go. So what I do is I go in here and spray some cleaner in there and let it go back and forth and clean it. I spray some lubricant in there, go back and forth, then I'll spray it and clean it, wipe it all out so there's no residue. But this way we make sure it's actually opening and closing properly. And that's a quick tip, how to test your bypass valve. All right, progress. Mounted a fuel pressure regulator here. So it's gonna be out of the way, but give me access to my lines that I'll make over to there. So I like that. And then I actually took a silicone coupler that I had and I cut it, and that's a 3-inch silicone coupler basically, and I just cut it in half and put it on the bottom of the pump. Use some gray silicone just to attach it, and got the weight of the pump holding it down, so it's actually gonna sit here overnight because I don't have the rest of my fittings yet. And when I get it, then I'll go in here and I'll drill the holes through the rubber, and then when the bolts go through and it bolts it to the car, this will be our insulation. So that's a cheap way to fix it instead of those little rubber ones that they give you. This is the way to do it, and it keeps it tight against the car, and the whole pad has insulation, so it should cut down on the vibration and the noise. So you'll notice there's a booster pump here. I need to disconnect the wires and the fuel lines from it. I also need to disconnect the fuel filter, take it out because that's going to go away, and then disconnect everything that goes over to the tank. I won't be able to unhook from the top of the tank till I drop it down, but I've already disconnected this little collar here from the tank. Then once I disconnect the rest of this, I can drop it down enough where it's got enough slack in the line where I can actually unhook those fittings at the top. So let me get all this off, but it'll not be used anymore. Get ready to drag the tank out from under it, and he's got some extra wire running here, so it won't disconnect. So I'll just disconnect these here. Man, they dirty. Go. And then this one, it's kind of weird there, but okay. That's all taped up. That's weird. Oh, I see why the connector was off, and it looks like it's not making good connection there. Look at that. I wonder if that's how it's taped up. Either way. That's off. Man, look at that. That is bad. That is real bad. Yikes. All right, so I just got my parts in. Check it out. We have number 10, number 8, and number 6 PTFE fuel line. We have various assortment of Aeromotive fittings. We have a fuel injector rebuild kit with O-rings and baskets with the filters in it. We have a new inlet. This is on the gas tank. The one he gave me was old and brittle, and this actually split, so I got another one. We have a new inlet for the supercharger power pipe, one that's not all cut up and messed up like his. And then we have a vacuum canister, which is going to help with the vacuum for the brakes. So I'm going to start putting this stuff on now, and I'll show you another little trick I've done here. So I took out all that factory wiring that was in bad shape. These are the factory wires that went to the fuel pump that were melted on the end. Cut that off. I'm reusing their ground. I've crimped this connector on, soldered it, and heat shrinked. Same thing here. Inside, you'll notice there's a nice little rubber grommet here where I drilled a hole and put a rubber grommet, and my wire's coming out. This is a main feed wire that goes to a 40 amp relay going to the battery, so that gives me direct power from the battery. And this is the turn on for the relay. It comes off the factory wire here, which means everything in the car, all the factory relays, fuses, and reset button for impact still work. So this is going to work. You turn the key on, it energizes up into here, the relay inside, and it gives full 12 volts from the battery here and the ground here. And I've already got the rings on it to hook to the pump, and the pump's gonna mount right up in here. All right, real quick, I'm getting ready to make these PTFE lines. You cut your line, pull the braid back, slide your little ferrule in, and then you slide your hose end on it. So I'll just pop it out so you can see it. But you put that close to the edge there. I use WD-40 on everything. Twist that in. And now the trick is you actually push this all the way up, and then you tighten it down. And you put it here in the vise, tighten it down, and that'll be one end. Now do the other. All right, so today I'm gonna rebuild the injectors. So you can order these Bosch kits off of Amazon. It comes with the O-rings you need, you wanna replace. It also comes with the baskets on the inside. When I mean basket's basically the top of this thing where the filter is. I've already pulled this one out, see that? And this one's still in there. So to get it out, what I just use is a little bit bigger screw than the hole. You screw it in, you put your screw in your vise and tighten it down, and then you basically take the injector and you wiggle it and pull, and it pops the basket right out. Real simple stuff. Because I always like to show you, put your screw in here, put your injector in, turn it till it gets snug, and then wiggle it. Basket pops right off. See there? Done. And then let's take my channel locks here, loosen it, unscrew it. There you go. And basically, if you look really close here, you can see the trash in this basket. Hopefully that's coming out and not too blurry, but see, there's a black spot right in there. That's trash inside the basket, which means there was some debris floating around in the fuel system, got in that injector. I haven't done them all yet. I'm gonna pull them all out of the box, pull all the baskets out. I'm gonna spray them out, clean them real good, open this pack, put the brand new baskets in, make sure everything stays clean, and then I'll pop off these O-rings, put brand new O-rings on it, because we don't want a fuel leak at high pressure. I don't know if I showed you the trunk, but here is the relay I did. So that's a 30/40 amp relay. Goes out and rubber grommet there. Little loon, make it look nice. And then the wire runs actually up and over. It's going to go to the battery here. And I have an inline fuse holder with a 30 amp fuse in it. So, because this battery's in the trunk, I designed this to go right up here. Boop. That'll feed the relay. The factory wiring harness will turn on the relay and you turn the key forward and it'll trigger the pump, which then goes under here. And there's the pump. The filters, I've got the lines made. This one has the sweet 180-degree bend in it. Make the lines come back this way. And then they run up and over, real nice and neat. All right, getting close to tying this project up. So I've got my hose here going to the vacuum can, which I mounted there on the inner fender apron. The lines run up. You've got one line going to the tree here, which gives you your source, and the other goes right here to the brake booster. And it just gives you reserve vacuum, should help the brakes. I got stopped here on my fuel rail. The return on these is so close to the strobe cap, they put one on the driver's side right here in the bottom. The problem is my 90-degree number 8 will not fit without hitting down here. So I've ordered 120-degree instead of 90-degree, and that should tilt it up like this and just barely make it fit, which is what I need. So just a few little things you're gonna run into, but 120-degree shape like this should give me more clearance. This 90-degree just isn't gonna fit. About 43, 44 pounds of pressure, got it running. Basically I got it hooked up, make sure there's no leaks. I see no leaks anywhere. From the fuel rails, from the regulator here, the return, under the bottom of my line. Let's go back here. All right. All right, one of the last pieces of the puzzle. This is a 3/8 phenolic spacer. And you're thinking, man, that's some old school stuff there, keep the heat out of it. That's true. But my biggest thing was, when I went to put the intake on, it did not sit flat. It actually rocked a little bit, and you could tighten it down, but I didn't like that. And that's how it was when it came to me. And I think the way the bottom of this intake is with this, something between here, I think, is touching the fuel rail, because it's real close. I think it's touching in here. And so I think that may be that crazy squeal we're hearing. But what I did, I went ahead and took all these fittings out and resealed them. Plugged that one, resealed all these with some pipe dope, so that should help. Made sure it was flat, put a straight edge, made sure this was flat, and made sure that was flat, so I didn't have any leaks there. So what I gotta do now is pull out these old studs here, and then pop in this new hardware. They give you some studs and bolts and everything, and then put in the spacers. What you do is you put the first gasket down, then your spacer, then the next gasket, put the intake on and torque it down. But this should give me more clearance from the fuel rail, and it will hit our stock hoods, but this is aftermarket hood. It's got a raise in the center. It's the SVO style, if you can see that. I've already measured it. He has plenty of room to clear by raising it up 3/8 of an inch. So it should work out well, should make the intake sit down there cleaner. It's also gonna help distribute some of the heat. Now how much is, you know, kind of probably questionable, but I do like these. These are some old school stuff back in the 90s, back when I was doing Foxbody stuff, when some of you weren't even born. The ones that were probably so young you're riding your 10-speed or your Huffy doing wheelies. Anyway, let's see what happens. All right, so put your studs in, then lower gasket, spacer, and then top gasket. The next thing you do, just stick the intake on it. All right, here's where the engineer comes out in you when you're building a car and building a hot rod. Sometimes you don't have the tool to fit the job, so you need to make one. So basically I took a 1/2-inch wrench that I had laying around, just an old cheap one, and I went over here to the intake. And the way this intake is, it's really tight. The front, I could get that nut on that they gave you, but in the back, I could not. So you'll see there's a regular hex nut back there, right in there. And I had to make this little tool to get in there and tighten it up, which worked really well. So sometimes you have to make stuff happen, and the normal way just won't get it, because no matter what, any wobble sockets or anything I had just wouldn't get on it with the way the intake's made. So hex nut in the back with a sawed off wrench fixes it. Alright, so after the test drive, I want to do a few more things. See in here, I've cleaned the filter. See how that light comes through nice and clean. It was a little dirty, and I checked the timing, and the timing was only at like 8 degrees base. So I put it up to 10, where we normally set them when we're tuning. So there's the red line I put on there, and it's exactly on 10. And now, the car should feel a little better, a little more responsive. But yeah, it runs great, makes boost, drives good, brakes feel great with the vacuum can. This project, you can stick a fork in it, it is done. Everything works great. Talked to the owner, his name's Ryan as well. He's gonna come pick it up today. He's really excited to get it back. So he is now staged for the next mods he's gonna do, which is probably a Terminator X computer and bigger injectors and put on E85. Then this thing's gonna be rowdy. Till then, hope you enjoyed the video. Working on Foxbody, doing a fuel system. Talk to you later.